My name is Alexis. I'm from Blug. Blug is a consulting firm focusing on digital transformation, putting people at the center of this transformation. So welcome to this session. This session is called Automation and Interoperability. For me, automation, when I think of automation, very simple, it's in our business, we have these huge steel structures where you move containers, boxes. And when I think of automation, very simply, I think, okay, there's a crane, can be a ship to shore, a gantry crane, whatever it is. And this then is maybe without a driver cabin, without a driver. So very simply, for me, this is these cranes, these massive steel constructions now move without a driver. This for me is automation. Of course, there are different levels and you might disagree. Interoperability, I mean, this term is from information technology. There it's widely used, and computer science, and it's what you do to make different systems work together. Yeah. So, and I think the two, if you really want to automate a whole system, then you need this interoperability. That's very simple. The third thing is people. So I will ask always the question, what can we learn from the people to design real good systems? So today in this session, we have a focus actually on rail operation, on intermodal container terminals. And I'm very happy about the mix of presenters. So we have Uwe from Kalmar representing for me, the steel, yeah, the automated cranes. We have Raphael from Inform. He cannot be here, but we have his presentation recorded. And for the Q&A, Matthew from Inform will join. We have then two case studies. The one is Kelsey and Christopher telling us about how to implement a TOC throughout different terminals in the UK. They did it. And one case study from Sydney about getting automation done. Thank you very much. Our first presentation will be by Uwe, and yeah.
Can I use this one?
Yes, you can use this one.
Hi, Alexis. Hi, everybody. My name is Uwe Pietriger. I'm from Kalmar. And Alexis, thank you first of all for the introduction and for the speech. But this further session will be without the word STS cranes, because we are talking about intermodal cranes, and not intermodal, not cranes, about intermodal. And you will see and learn a lot of other equipment which can be used for intermodal operation. So just a second. My speech will about operation of automated equipment in intermodal terminals in Europe, a journey in 5 steps. Why 5 steps? You heard a lot when you're looking to this very nice event here. Everybody has the nicest, the fanciest things, but we have the experience that when it comes to the automation, and you will later on hear from my colleagues from Australia how it works in reality, a lot of things and some basics need to be observed. And I will give you in the speech just a way in 5 simple steps about automation, how you can implement it. Oh, there's the one thing missing. Okay, so as I said, my name is Uwe Pietriger. I'm working since 30 years in this business, and for 3 years within Kalmar, and I'm a solution sales director, so representing and try to work together with our customers to develop very fancy and very nice solutions. The first step is understand the market demands. So this is really important. When we talk about automation, we have to understand what we want to go from. We are coming from the manual terminals or even a semi-automated terminal, remote control terminal, and how to automate it. And what is the demand on this? And when we look to the to the European market, and the focus is here on the railway automation, we see a huge railway system within Europe, more than 280,000 kilometers of railway, more than 12,000 cargo yards, and a lot of container channel, that's clear. And yeah, a lot of opportunities, and also just let me see if it would work. Oh, okay. And you see a lot of major expansion plans, so a lot of opportunities for automation in this field. Here you see also on the right-hand side the network we have in Europe, the railway network, and on the left-hand side, what are the topics here in this field? We talk about blockchain, we talk about automated guided vehicles, automated stacking cranes, container positioning determination, automated tracks, warehouse automation, and everything with the word automation is everywhere. And I think we will later on in this session hear also some about these topics. So there is a big market for automation, and we have a expanding network here, so with a lot of opportunities. That's one of the drivers. The second driver is also when we are looking more from the operational point of view. Everybody, when you go here through, we want to go electric. We as Kalmar, we have the biggest thing here, our fully electric reach stacker. You can see it on our booth on E40. So it goes towards electrification. It means operators want from everything less CO2 emissions, less noise or lower noise. Maintenance should be improved. That means less maintenance. Of course, also the interruptions should be minimized to a value, and nevertheless, lower fuel consumption, especially in these times where the fuel costs are so skyrocket high. It is an important point. With this introduction, let us come to the identification. What are the needs of a future terminal? And I think when we look to these headlines, we talk about safety. First of all, we as Kalmar talk about safety. And as you may know, in our logistic chain, on the all-over chain, we have all 5 minutes in injury related to our operations. So this is one topic of importance. Efficiency, I showed it before, but with the topics productivity increase and lower handling unit cost. This is the topic here. Eco-efficiency, you know, in the European community, we have in certain countries the CO2 taxation, so this is a relative new point for some countries and makes the operation more expensive. Last but not least, one mega trend is also the flexibility and scalability. You will hear it all over this fair that we have here. The term flexibility and scalability on our solution need to be adapted to various scenarios and places. The topic is, even when we have these 4 points, and I think everybody from the audience will agree on it, that these are the important points, we have not a single solution. Especially when we look to the intermodal terminals, we have so different types of intermodal terminals which need to be adapted and need to be taken care on that you have the right solution. We coming now to the core. Manages changes to the entire work system. That means when we look to a typical application here with an AutoStrat, Alexis, so when we talk about an automation, you said it right, you see a bench of machines involved in various things. So we are not talking about a single machine, we are talking about a system. And the system does not consist only of the machines, in this case AutoStrats, it consists also of the interaction protection with, for instance, fences to protect the areas, the manual areas and the automated areas. We have trucks involved. We have truck gates. We have train gates when we talk about train operation. So it is a system of single equipment. This need to be combined and need to be covered completely. This is a more technical view on it. On the right-hand side, this is important when we look to the, also from the operator point of view. The operator should know and should really describe it, their way of operating, where they are actually and where they want to go in the future. Because only with a clear description and with the understanding of their work system, it is possible to implement automation successfully. Otherwise, you will have too many objections and too many points not covered. This need to be avoided. So the work system, every operator should know what is his work system and should describe it. There are some slides missing. Okay. Yeah, we're coming now to the fourth step, and we see we have two opportunities. What we are showing here is our smart solution system. This is, we call it process automation. So that means that we can automate a terminal without implementing a complete new system. So what Alexis is saying before, when he's thinking about automation, he's thinking about automated cranes and automated everything. But we have also, with our process automation modules, we have the possibility to improve manual operation towards the journey towards the automation journey. So that means we have some tools for stacking identification, for OCR identification, and a very new tool is our truck positioning system, so that the road truck driver got an app, and you give him then the access, and he gets the guidance where to drive to with his cell phone. And the good thing on that is that you then know exactly the position of the truck, where it is in your terminal. Is it on the right handover position? So this can be connected to the TOC system, and all this with a mobile phone from the truck driver, which submitted to you as the end user, then the position of this truck. This is pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, we come to the process automation. I already mentioned it, and here is an overview. This is the right-hand side I just explained, and on the left-hand side, the advantage is that you have manual equipment with which you improve with some add-on features, which improve either the operation or the visibility in your management system or the maintenance system itself. On the right-hand side, we have the typical automated equipment. I will change the side. The automated equipment enables the full potential, but this means you have to invest in automated machines, equipment, as I said before, also with all these fences and these truck gates and everything needs to be done, which you can imagine is of course cool and state of the art, but it takes time. It takes longer time to implement it, to select it, to design it, and to have the benefit out of it. Yeah, then we have the overview of what is needed to make a project, an automation project in intermodal operation successful. So this is really identifying the right time for automation, and the right time is now because we have the cool adaptation either with a process automation for manual terminals or with fully automated equipment or automated equipment with a stepwise approach where you can go to. A stepwise approach I just mentioned looks like this. We start on the left-hand side with manually equipment. Manually equipment, the precondition to make any automation happen is that it should be electrified. So it should be electrified and should be also have, when we're looking to manual equipment which runs in virtual lines in an auto steering system. The first level is typically, out of our experience, the remote control. Remote control means that the machine is still a manual operated machine, but the driver of the machine is not located on the machine itself. He's located in a safe environment in an office building, and this protects the drivers. It's a more safer place, a better working condition, but you have all the benefits of a manual machine, that you have not to follow any automated rules. Semi-automated equipment is that you some movements you automate. For instance, the stacking operation, when we're talking to inside a crane operation, then that these movements are fully automated, done with automated pick and place from the ground, either from the truck or from the rail itself. But my colleagues will later on say more about it. And of course, then everybody talk about fully automated. Yes, fully automated is the future thing, especially when we're looking to the intermodal business here in Europe, because we have a lot of things technical, they are possible, no doubt about it, but we have the legislative to follow up, and we have to follow the rules, the European Community Machinery Directive, which has some restrictions, what is allowed to do. Software. On the software side, 2 minutes, good. On the software side, we have to see that from our experience, it's important to have standardized software and scalable software. Standardized means that you have an open interface which you can communicate and connect to your existing IT systems or your ideas of anything else. So it needs to have open interfaces to your system. This enables you also to grow with the software. The other point of growing is the scalability. Scalability means when you have today just only one reach stacker or one machine, and that you want to automate, that your software automation is capable also to grow with the demands of the future when you have, I don't know, 15 reach stackers, or you grow on some point. So the scalability and the openness of the software is the key point you should consider in the step towards automation. Coming to the end, choose the right partner. This is important to have a partner. This enables you with the solution which fits to your specific demand, and which is proven technology. And here Kalmar is your right partner, of course, because we have the long heritage of the innovation in the container market, also in the container automation market for intermodal. And you can see it, especially, actually, we have this robotization things ongoing, and the electrification things with the electric reach stacker you can see on our booth. So a very, very unique and pretty cool machine. Yeah, here you will see later on in a practical example. The colleagues will tell about another thing. So we have some practical implementations in the intermodal industry. So if you want to know more about it, just talk to me, call me, and I'm looking to see you on booth E40. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Uwe. Thank you very much for presenting these 5 steps towards automation. Our next speaker is Raphael from Inform. He cannot be here, unfortunately, today, so his presentation should appear on the screen, right?
Nonetheless, I'm looking forward to walk you through the thoughts and ideas that I wanted to present to you today in Rotterdam. In the first 3 slides, I want to share to you on the left side some scenario that might be typical to daily life occurrences without automation. And the idea is to contrast this with a picture on the right, which describes the same situation or the same challenges encountered, but with the aid of automation. So quite literally kicking things off with the first picture on the left, it brings us back to the situation in 1966, where a human referee was encountered with the requirement of deciding whether to award a goal or not to a country, with the goal being awarded if the ball crosses the plane over the goal line in its entirety. A decision that was made back then, not to the happiness of everybody involved, and fast forwarding to today, these decisions are made in a slightly different way with the addition and help of automating techniques. Moving on to the next set of pictures. This one, also taken from the world of sports, I'm starting to see a trend here, shows us 3 line judges, which are faced with the challenge of deciding whether a ball that was played at very high speeds in front of their eyes, if it was played within or if it was outside of the valid playing field. And as far as making always the right decision, you cannot be serious. You cannot be serious about getting it right every single time. So fast forwarding it to the way it's dealt with today, and it is a decision that is always made in the right way, in a fair way, with the aid of technology. For the final set of pictures, it will get a little bit more complicated, but mostly because I don't have the time to explain all the complexities and nuances about baseball. But also here there is human decision involved in the form of the crouching person in blue that needs to decide whether a ball that is thrown in its direction, traveling at speeds of over 100 miles an hour, is to be called a strike. So in baseball, a strike is when a ball is thrown and it arrives airborne and it intersects any part of that 3D object that you can see in the picture on the left. And it's a decision that needs to be made in split seconds, and henceforth it's not very easy to always get it right. Still, currently decisions are accurate in over 90 or around 90% of the cases. But the game of baseball is calling upon the addition of so-called robo-umps to make those decisions and try to always get that decision right. So while it's still not in place, and there are a lot of thoughts as to how these robo-umps could look like, this is the picture on the right shows us one such idea of how they could look like. So what are our challenges where automation can be of help? For starters, we need to understand the main areas where automation is active. A typical first in the family feud is automated equipment. In this area, introducing automation involves a large upfront capital investment, such as the required money to purchase new cranes or vehicles for operations. From a technology perspective, stable and mature solutions do exist, although as we probably know, some are more mature than others. Another big area corresponds to equipment control systems, often coupled to new equipment and which will make operations run smoother. Typical applications are automated gates or OCR portals that make cumbersome work more efficient. The brain that some in the show are looking for has to do with solutions that allow to feel in control of the situation. Typically, this has been in the hands of the TOS, but with today's possibilities in smart decision-making and advanced analytics, it is really the large portfolio of third-party providers and add-on solutions that are awarding and reaching these desired benefits. Finally, automation forces us to look further than our own plate. So, given our existence in a heterogeneous ecosystem, there are many possible paths to achieve gains. Structured data change and real-time connectivity are desired avenues to follow, but equally important is the realization that automation requires efficient human-machine decision-making. And why should we focus on rail? Frankly, to be prepared. Global container throughput was forecast to grow by 5.5% annually. So while masks and helmets have put a dent on this, the needs and those demanding the needs are still there. So there is no reason to believe that this is no longer going to be the case. Freight rail share in the EU is also bound to increase. 2030 could point to a market share twice the size of what we had a couple of years ago, with prominent ports such as Hamburg and Antwerpen, amongst others, targeting or already possessing large shares. Then there is the obvious reason of rail being more energy efficient than trucks and causing less CO2 emissions. While trucks have the possibility of pulling close as far as their green footprint is concerned, it is difficult to envision a future where the road share is larger than it already currently is. Or at least that's probably our common hope. Still, in the end, this focus on rail is already taking place in those locations with a sound existing rail infrastructure. Expansion projects and government investments all around the globe are a good barometer on the state and the forecast of rail processes. Having set up this case for rail being an area where it is worth to look at it in a more close and detailed way, let us look at typical challenges that are currently encountering daily operations and for which any possibility to introduce automation would be of big help. So we can take the example of a user going to its browser with a list of, which is displaying a list of containers that need to go to the vessel or to the rail, and searching for the print button, clicking on it, and producing a large output of paper that is then handed out to truck drivers so that each truck driver knows what are the containers that need to be brought to a different location for the next 4 hours or for the next shift. A second situation that occurs quite often at terminals is that there is a rail crane driver sitting high up above the rail tracks, looking down on a sea of containers that need to be loaded and unloaded, and a lot of honking truck drivers with delivering new containers that need to go onto the rail, and it's the crane driver's job to know where to put the containers so that trains are loaded in the proper way, enabling them to depart the terminal at a later point in time. And if their decision making is incorrect, then it will be the cause for possible rework. Or a third scenario in which when rail trains need to be loaded and discharged, that in order to make things bearable and manageable, there is a strict rule that says a container should be discharged first in its entirety, and only after these have been fully discharged, you will proceed to load the containers, just in order to maintain visibility, but at the expense of productivity losses. So if we're able to find an automated solution to these challenges, it will put us in a position to collectively achieve benefits that we can expect to be as advantageous as the automated solutions from the first 3 slides. To be more specific, an automated solution will provide more flexibility than a paper list. And a train load optimizer will improve stowing decisions and allow crane drivers to focus on driving the crane or to move to the office building to assist in the crane's remote operations. A smart train scheduler will be able to add features that will allow that expensive equipment to reach higher productivities. However, the collective gains, they go beyond these more obvious ones. Equipment congestion can be tackled with the introduction of optimized solutions. To eliminate idle equipment and possibly delaying further upfront investments are also typical examples of smart decision tools. The gains are not limited to operations. Other processes that make up that large ecosystem can also find a home in such solutions. For example, plant maintenance processes, they can seamlessly be integrated by working ahead so that disruptions due to this maintenance is minimized. Another typical use case is to leverage the use of historical data to be able to fill in gaps that current terminal data typically encounters. All these gains, they converge in the general acceptance that automated terminals are safer than conventional terminals. that they accrue less human-related disruptions and are driven in a more predictable way, independent of the experience of the team, and present the possibility to achieve a higher return on investment. This all sounds good, but how to start? If I'm allowed to venture into another branch of analogies, and I get to liken the introduction of automation to, let's say, cherry-picking an apple, a good way to start would be to go for the low-hanging fruit. Finding the low-hanging fruit on a tree might be simple, but identifying this in the forest of solutions that are out there, it's not such an easy task. In order to hand you a method to do this in practice, I will try to illustrate this via something that might take some of you back again to 1966, but this time to a certain classroom in your local school. I want to propose that the low-hanging fruit can be found by measuring the solutions on the low-hanging fruit 3D time matrix. This matrix consists of 3 axes that clockwise, and taking it from the top, describe whether a solution can be implemented in short or a long amount of time, whether it is possible to obtain feedback from how the solution is behaving in a short or a long amount of time, and finally, if due to the passing of time, your own processes might be changing. Therefore, each of the 8 cubes represent a unique volume of where I can categorize a potential solution. Take for example, once this has been clarified, get your team and your TOC vendor on board. Not achieving this will make it difficult to stay literally on track. And finally, take the next logical step, which accounts to basically repeating what I started saying at the beginning of this slide. Thank you very much for your interest, and I look forward to engage in a conversation, even if from afar.
Okay, thank you, Raphael, for this presentation on, I would call it automated decision making and how to get it running. I'm very happy to welcome Kelsey and Christopher for the next presentation. It's a case study on implementing a TOC in the UK.
We're here today to present to you our case study on our successful implementation of an integrated intermodal terminal operating system throughout our UK rail terminal network. The first thing I want to do, though, is I want to read to you some testimonials from some of our largest terminal users from the trucking community. The system has improved turnaround times at the terminal significantly, which can only be advantageous to us as a haulier. This has been a positive move and one that seems to be working better in all regions. It has been done with minimal effort or issues, so thanks for the team for assisting with this. And that second quote is quite powerful. It's really significant because it came from a big trucker very soon after we went live. So we're not waiting weeks and months to see benefits from putting this integrated system in. We're seeing it almost straight away. So over the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to show you how we got there and where we're going to go next beyond that. So my name is Chris Kavanagh. I'm the program lead for Freightliner on this project, and that's part of the Genesee and Wyoming Railroad Group.
And I'm Kelsey Lyons. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Tideworks Technology, specifically for the UK rail terminals. So during the course of our presentation today, we're going to be shedding some light on G&W's overall vision for this project. We're going to talk about the process that we went through in order to form a collective modernization program across multiple companies. And we're going to talk about what it took to roll out all of the systems and integrations. We're going to review some operational results and KPIs with you, and then we'll finish it up talking about kind of our next plan for future state development with G&W.
So our vision. Historically, Freightliner had many manual processes, particularly at the gate. We had no idea who was turning up, when and for what. It made it a very slow process, unable to plan resource properly. Every issue that we had to be sorted at the gate, and it led to a lot of delays and efficiency for everyone. So when we got new owners in Genesee and Wyoming, they wanted to invest to make our terminals better, not just for the truckers and our end customers, but for our future strategy and growth too. So we put technology at the heart of this investment, and we asked ourselves, what do we actually really want? Let's not just fix things. What does great actually look like? And that brought out the vision that you can see. So we wanted to increase optimization and automation within our terminals across the UK. We want to increase terminal velocity, create an efficient flow of traffic through our terminals, improve the haulier and end customer experience, and establish yourself as a reputation as the best and easiest to use inland container terminal operator in the UK. And we wanted to achieve this by connecting those core systems together. So we wanted a best-in-class terminal operating system, a best-in-class vehicle booking system, and a best-in-class gate automation system. So you're probably thinking, what's been done before? That's simple enough. But anyone who's ever been involved in this knows that it's not as easy as that. And to add to that, there was a lot of unique challenges in the UK that we had to contend with, as you'll see throughout the slides.
So just a few of the high-level challenges that G&W had been facing was increased annual container volumes year over year, and along with that, congestion inside and outside of the terminal, and this is essentially leading to high turnaround times and basically bottlenecks throughout the entire terminal network. So as part of this program, G&W had been leveraging a legacy TOS product, and unfortunately it was no longer growing with their business needs. At that time, they'd been using it since about 2009, at which point it necessarily wasn't uncommon that TOS offerings were created with vessel operations in mind and rail operations, and the ability to support that was kind of more of an afterthought. So unfortunately, what that led to was customers like G&W on the rail side of things leading to older products that weren't growing with their business. We're missing out on exciting enhancement work that was being done in the industry. So as part of that, they ended up doing an extensive RFP process. They spoke to, many of the industry leaders with TOS offerings before finally selecting Tideworks Technology as their TOS provider. So in addition to our Spinnaker and Mainsail products on the marine and vessel operations side of things, we've also been working on our next generation TOS products specifically for intermodal rail operations. So we've got Intermodal Pro, or iPro for short. It essentially eliminates a lot of the guesswork from rail planning with easy-to-use graphical tools and optimization features like auto planning, live lift, move prioritization, and move segmentation. It also allows you to maximize the space within your yard to integrate seamlessly with your existing yard equipment and the functionality throughout the terminal. We've also got Traffic Control, or TC, and that is our move execution system to increase your terminal utilization and your yard efficiency. So once G&W had partnered with Tideworks as their overall TOS provider on this, they recognized the need quickly to integrate with a vehicle booking system and a gate management system. Given our proven integrations and our long-standing working relationships, Camco's gate management system and Advent's vehicle booking system were selected to work with us as part of this modernization effort. Basically, the overall goal was a modern and seamless solution at the appointment, gate, and terminal activity level. At the appointment level, you've got Advent's VBS. It provides a web-based platform, essentially, for hauliers to book their appointments to come into and collect or drop off their terminals at any of the UK terminals throughout that network with G&W. At the gate level, you've also got Camco's GMS. It provides the hardware and software to support the OCR at the gates and the gate clerk screens for processing those moves. And then on the terminal activity level, you've got Tideworks, iPro, and TC, not just providing an intuitive planning system. It's essentially acting as the brains of the operation for the integrated approach and any type of error handling that goes on between those. So TC is also taking over the equipment and move execution at all points within the terminal once a truck initially comes in the gate.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, that we encountered some unique challenges in our terminals and also in the UK inland terminal market in general. So I'll speak to just a few of those just now. So this was never done before in a UK inland terminal. Yeah, it's been done at the major ports. So there was a lot of scepticism and negativity around that, even from our own company. Basically, they said we could not do this. It would not be accepted. But to get around that challenge, some of the things we did was involve those affected, such as the trucking community, early in the process so they could understand the benefits it could bring to them, and brought some of the major truckers on as early adopters, and then the others could see them benefiting from it, and they too would want to be involved as well. There was also a really good comprehensive communications and training package that we put out there as well, so people could understand the benefits it could bring them. And this really helped, especially after the initial go live. They could see what we were trying to achieve before we went there. Another one of the challenges we had is that over a third of the trucks that were coming into our terminal were owned by Freightliner, and therefore the trucks were based on site. This was seen as a good thing because we could control those trucks. However, the challenge that we had, many of the appointments started inside the terminal as a result. This was new for all of us and for our software partners. Typically, when you're using the VBS system, you start the appointment outside the terminal, but I said many of the trucks started inside the terminal. So how did we overcome this? That became the birth of what we affectionately know as the magic truck, where all of us worked together to simulate that truck process that's normally performed at the automated gate. And we made an easy-to-use gate simulation that would generate the truck mission in the TOS, and that really greatly benefited our internal fleet of trucks. They didn't have to leave the terminal to start their mission, and that was a big challenge that we overcame. The last one I want to talk about is a scenario of the container not yet railed. So if I'm a dispatcher at Birmingham, for example, when Birmingham knows nothing about that container, but I need this container for first thing tomorrow morning, how am I going to book an appointment for it? And because we've got that integrated TOS, we know that container is on a train from, say, Felixstowe, and we know it's going to be there overnight. So we fed that information to the VBS system to allow the haulier to book an unconfirmed appointment, even though that container wasn't at the terminal yet. And as soon as that train dispatched from Felixstowe, that would automatically make that appointment confirmed. So that was a really big win for us, and we used our early adopters to prove that. But we needed some time in production to convince the entire community that this would work because of the just-in-time next-day delivery that was really important to them. I'm pleased to say that was a massive success, and the hauliers trust that process now. So as we went live, quite simply, this had to work well right from the start. Because of a small to medium-sized terminal footprint, the proximity we were to main roads, motorways, city centres and other businesses meant we couldn't have gridlock just because we're putting in a new system outside their terminals. So what we did was we went to one of our smaller terminals at Cardiff and used that as a learning board before we did the rapid rollout. We spent a lot of time here. We learned our lessons, we fixed our defects, and really just got to grips with the software and the technology and how to get the best out of it. So to do it here at a small terminal meant we could deploy rapidly without drama and issues around the rest of the network. We made sure we made all our mistakes early at Cardiff to get the benefit when we rolled it out around the other sites. We also quickly learned that this was not one project. We've seen it as one project, but we quickly realised this was going to be a series of 10 mini projects. So we're starting again at every site, new staff, new trucking community, starting the comms process again, the training, the go live and the support. And that was a key lesson for us, to recognise that these are a lot of mini projects that we had to do. So to support that, we implemented a 24-hour support function to help everyone involved gain trust of the community and alleviate any issues we had early and quickly. So, and after we went live, there were still challenges that we had to resolve, and we had to resolve them quickly. As these go-lives went well, it was never going to be perfect. So what we did was we used the data immediately that was available in iPro to pinpoint areas that was causing us issues and concerns, and we just sorted them straight away. We did not let any problems manifest. We challenged those who were causing us problems directly, but positively. We backed it up with the real data with them, and we got people to work with us to ease those issues. We made them understand that this would benefit them too, and they could see that from the data. So for example, the data told us that 60% of our truckers were turning up over 30 minutes early for their appointment. This created congestion, and the data informed them of that and helped them change their behaviour. And then the trucks flowed like water through the terminal after that very quickly. Internally, we also recognised that we had grace periods at either end of the appointment that were too long, and this led to truckers turning up too early, too late, and it reduced the beneficial impact that having a booked appointment time would bring. So we changed those grace periods very quickly to kind of enforce that behaviour. So just to run through some of the results that we got from that. So I'm pleased to say that on Monday of this week we went live at our Manchester terminal, and I can also say that after less than 3 days we are seeing a stable system with benefits already to the stakeholders. Overall, the results have been absolutely staggering. They've exceeded expectations, and Kelsey's going to demonstrate some of that in a second. We've now gone live with the full integration at 6 of our sites, and there's only 4 more to go that we hope to roll out by the end of this year. If we go back to the vision that we spoke about at the start, we can see we're already achieving many of our aims. We've got our integrated system. The transition is almost seamless, with instant benefits to G&W, the trucker, and our end customers. I'm also pleased to say that in the last month we've put an additional train in at our Birmingham terminal from London Gateway, meaning more trucks, more containers, more lifts, and it's now no problem for the terminal to handle this. We've got congestion inside and outside of the terminal, and that's a thing of the past. Turn times are significantly reduced at every terminal. There's no issues at the gate, as everything is pre-validated before arrival. And because of this bookings, we can receive fewer unexpected visitors at our terminal, such as our friendly fox you can see on the screen just now. If you don't have an appointment, you don't have a container. Even with this increased throughput, even though we have seen equipment out of action where previously this would have a huge knock-on effect to our terminal, we are still able to provide an excellent service and manage the flow of traffic to accommodate any events. Our long-term goal is to have 2 extra trains at our larger sites, 1 at our smaller sites, with the existing footprint and lifting capability. And we think this is now a possibility as we are now more efficient and we've got the data to make the right decisions at the right time.
Yep. So as Chris mentioned, G&W is currently utilizing the exact same equipment and the terminal footprint, and they're already recognizing more trucks coming through the terminals on a daily basis. They've been able to increase the number of train departures without impacting terminal viability. As he mentioned, there's already an additional train service running out of Birmingham on a weekly basis. This eased congestion and increased throughput throughout the terminal networks has actually allowed them to go from processing approximately 300 containers a day to well over 500 on average at their largest UK location. We're also looking at an adoption rate of 99% of all appointments at this rate are automated, 95% of which actually go through without any kind of error validation or manual intervention by any type of staff on site. The gate queues at Birmingham alone have gone from about 2 hours at the start of every week down to about 20 minutes on average. And the average turnaround time throughout the terminal is about 22 minutes long-term effectively. So, as we continue to roll out our Tideworks TOS products at G&W's UK network, we'll be continuing to work towards that overall vision of continued optimization and efficient automation. We'll be next up rolling out some additional enhancement work to integrate further with customs and an M&R solution by Bankside Solutions. And our further goal will be to streamline automated terminal housekeeping, which takes essentially the decision away from the operator. He doesn't have to make that thought. The system will tell him this is the most efficient way to complete this move, and we get it done sooner. And we'll also be working on automated train planning activities. In addition to that, we'll also be rolling out a pilot with G&W specifically with our 3D Terminal View product. It essentially is enabling terminals to exchange information with key stakeholders to increase value across a data visualization suite and real-time monitoring and insights. If you guys have any questions about the G&W case study, our integration efforts, or anything else like that, we'll be at booth F61. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kelsey and Christopher, for sharing your experiences with the implementation. I think this is one of the most valuable information you can get on this conference, to talk to people who have been through it, and then you can learn how to best prepare. Our next case study will be on Port Botany, Autorail, Sydney. Lucas and Peter, welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Peter Fielder. I'm Projects Director for Patrick Stevedores, Technology Officer as well. This is Lucas Jackson. He's a Product Manager for Kalmar and in charge of our automation software development. We're here today to present the rail automation story at Port Botany and its importance in developing intermodal capacity throughout Sydney. So who is Patrick Terminals? Patrick Terminals is a small stevedoring business based in Australia with a lot of courage and a lot of ambition. We are the largest terminal operator. We operate 4 terminals around the country. Patrick, in conjunction with Kalmar back in the early 2000s, developed the AutoStrad and implemented it in the terminal in Brisbane. It's been running in full operation and successfully since 2005, and we implemented automated straddle operations in Sydney in 2015.
Yep. Yep. The AutoStrad product was jointly developed between Kalmar and Patrick, starting in the early 2000s. We had our first site go live in 2005, and this product features millimetre wave radar. It's able to localise from startup to within 2 centimetres, and it also features for the path planning and path planning system. Features a hang on, I'll go to the next. A node-based map where the paths are predefined, and then at runtime they're selected by the path planning system. This minimises processing required by the path planning system, which increases the flexibility, and you can do more with less. So yeah, as mentioned, so we have the Patrick AutoStrad, or the Kalmar AutoStrad, has been deployed to Patrick on 2 sites. Brisbane site was deployed in 2005, and then Sydney was deployed in 2015. Some features that we've developed over the period are dual cycle, so we're able to load and discharge from the SDS in one cycle, and twin form, so we take one AutoStrad, place a 20-foot container, take a second AutoStrad, place another 20-foot container with enough accuracy that we can then pick those 2 20-foot containers with the SDS in one pick. We've also developed auto truck handling. We can both pick and place automatically from the trucks, and we've developed a interface to the RMG cranes, which we'll talk about a bit later, and we're in the process of developing an interface to the automatic SDS cranes.
So Patrick's Port Botany terminal is the largest terminal in Sydney, and like all terminals located on the coast, it's on the opposite side of the city to our distribution centres. So our focus was how do we get the cargo out of the terminal in a quick and efficient manner without causing too much congestion on the roads, and clearly rail is the solution to that. Terminal has 4 berths. It's got 1.6 million TEU capacity. To develop rail, you need investment, not just from a terminal, you need investment across the entire logistics chain. So this project is jointly sponsored by NSW Ports, who have contributed a significant amount of funding to the below rail infrastructure. The port has an ambition to move by 40% of cargo by rail by the year 2030, and they can't do that without investment in rail and systems that manage the rail to work. So why would we automate? On the left, we've got the original rail handling system that we had, up to 10 diesel-powered vehicles, 15 or 16 people, moving 30 containers an hour at best, with an absolute maximum capacity of about 200,000 TEUs a year. What we've moved to is 3 pieces of electric equipment, 4 to 5 people operating the terminal, 50 lifts an hour, and a capacity of about 500,000 TEUs a year, which we can extend to 1 million TEUs a year by adding another 3 ARMG cranes. How did we automate? We have a very strong basis of the Kalmar RTCS automation product. The terminal has been running effectively and efficiently for 5 years. We wanted to reduce our operating costs, we wanted to increase our capacity, and we wanted to reduce our energy consumption. We see rail as the ability to reduce the dwell time of containers in the yard because we're able to push them out. If we've got the right data transfer between the inland terminal and the ship, for containers coming in, we can push, and there's a spot on the train, we can push that container onto the train, reduce the dwell time, reduce the volume of cargo in the terminal, and provide better service to our customers, the shipping company. Investment is not only at the port end. Within the Sydney network, there are 5 or 6 major intermodal terminals being developed by a range of different companies that we're talking through on the way through. The largest one is the Moorebank project, which is you.
Yeah, so the Moorebank project is located in Western Sydney. There's a rail link between the Port Botany terminal and the Moorebank terminal. And the primary driver for this was to take trucks off the road. So we're reducing congestion and we're reducing emissions of those trucks and move it onto the rail. Kalmar has delivered some equipment and also automation functions for this project, including RMG cranes, ASC cranes that are able to automatically operate the rail, and autostrads which interface between the rail and the warehouses. So combined with the Port Botany project and the Moorebank project, combined with these two sites where we've automated all container handling from the ship all the way to the warehouse.
As I said earlier, Patrick's plan was to leverage our existing automation system. We had to keep the existing rail terminal operating while we built the new terminals, so we had to stage our development and interface it. We had to be system safe, we had to be people safe, and we were successful in delivering that. And we developed a manualised transition. We heard earlier about little steps on the way through your process. It's operating, we're getting really good performance, we keep adding more sections to our automation as we run through. So the team is really important. We've heard a number of speakers today say that it's not just the client can't just be away from this. The client has to be heavily engaged with it, and you have to have strong partners in your team. So we were very lucky to have Kalmar as a key partner, ZPMC, and especially Siemens, who developed the crane automation final pick and place software. And then we had local people. It's up to you now. It's over to you. We had local contractors in the network and support from New South Wales ports.
Should we try and get this fixed before we
just keep
continue?
going. You're right. You just talk to that slide.
Yep. All right, so to answer the question, was the project a success? Yes, it was. We delivered what we had agreed to deliver on time, on budget, and the customer is very happy, which is obviously the most important thing. We up front, so foundations for success. We have a strong relationship with Patrick. We've been delivering projects with them for around 20 years, and that relationship is based on honesty, openness, transparency. We establish the realistic expectations for the project up front, so there's no surprises later on, and we have very experienced engineers in Sydney, some of which have been with us for 15 or 20 years, which significantly helps our chances of success. We utilise a agile software development methodology, and we minimise silos and empower the engineers to make decisions. Okay, so during the execution of the project, we had to collaborate closely with Siemens. So we delivered the AutoStrat interface to the RMG cranes. Siemens delivered the onboard control system for the RMG cranes, and that transition or interface has to be smooth. So that's why we needed to collaborate with Siemens quite closely. We developed a rolling stock database of the train, and before the train's operated, we scan the train completely with the RMG cranes, and we correlate the data that we get from the scan with the manifest to pinpoint the location of all of the containers in global coordinates. We've also decoupled the straddle operation from the RMG operation. With the intermediate stacking area, we're able to load the intermediate stacking area prior to the RMG operation, and then when the RMG is operating, the straddles are out of the way, so we're not causing any delays there.
So any project you would measure with the question, would you do it again? And in Patrick's case, the answer is absolutely. We've developed a system-safe project that complies with the Australian and European standards. We've increased our performance by nearly a factor of 1.5, with nearly almost 2. We've increased our capacity by a factor of 2.5, and we've reduced our OPEX significantly. Other benefits of the project is that by removing the rail exchange from the road network, we've improved our road performance. We've reduced our dwell time of containers. We've freed up our auto straddle fleet because they're no longer trying to get to the road network. And that's led to a reduced dwell time of rail containers, an increase in terminal capacity, and a better customer service offering. So for some of us, watching containers move is brilliant, but kind of boring for everybody else. So we've got a short video that shows the AutoStrats in operation, and then the actual graphical user interface of our rail operation. It's all been sped up, so you're not here forever. So you can talk to that.
Yep. So you can see here the straddle operation on the back reach of the SDS, and if you look closely, you can also see some twin forms there with the 20-foot straddle places 2 20-foots, and the crane picks up those as one. You can see on the left there's the AutoStrad area. It's fenced off, so no one can go in there, only the AutoStrads operate there.
And if we've got this right, we'll just about move to the rail. We believe this is the first time that rail has been end-to-end automated in Australia, in the world. We place the train, we put a fence around it, we turn the automation on. In the previous video and this clip of our graphical user interface, there are no people doing any jobs. The system is running itself, the machines are looking after the entire product. We are discharging and backloading concurrently, and in a moment you'll start to see the straddles come in. The things that make a success are information transfer between us, the shipping lines, and the depots where the containers are going. Good, accurate data files mean that we've got reliable automation systems running into the network. We need reliable trains. A lot of the trains that we have in Australia, I'm sure this is probably not the same for the rest of the world, they're a bit old and crickety, so when you try and pick a container up, they hang on, and that becomes problematic. We've got all the tools to prevent that, but if we've got a good performance train, then we get a lot of benefits through the automation system. So thank you very much. That's us.
Okay, thank you, Peter and Lucas, for your insights. Now it's time for the Q&A, so please come to the stage, have a seat. So my first question, Christopher, is you said that you the gate processes, they were manually, had a high manual level, and this is what you changed. And I suppose that some of the routine work maybe went away, but maybe other tasks appear maybe more with technology. And I'd like to ask about how, I mean, could you make your people, I mean, that they learned what they have to do, or did you need to hire other people to do certain tasks? So what was the change for them?
So we kept a number of staff that were part of that gate process, and we changed their role into more of exception handling. So Kelsey mentioned in the slide deck that we're not touching 95% of the trucks. Every truck used to be touched as it came through. 95% are just flowing through the terminal. So they have to deal with that 5%. So when there is an exception, as poor OCR read, or they've put in the wrong appointment data, then they're trained to manage those exceptions and get them through the terminal quicker. Or in a few occasions, if they haven't got the right details, we have to ask them to leave. And their role has changed as well. So they're doing more stuff to do with the planning of the trains as well. So, you know, whereas previously they'd just be managing the gates, but they're now managing gate exceptions, but also managing the planning of those trains. And as one of the other things that Kelsey mentioned, in the future, we're hoping to automate that, a large part of that in the next 12 to 18 months as well. So we're not stopping, we're only at the start.
Very good. But the change was, if I got it right, not that big that they couldn't change as people to cope with a new task.
The tasks for them were, obviously, as you can imagine, the first couple of weeks, it was like a new system. So that everything that comes with a new system, they had to deal with. But I feel that the training that was given to them was of high quality, and because we're repeating that over and over at different terminals, we know what to do. We know the challenges, and we know how to train them properly. And we feel as we go through each terminal, every terminal rollout we do is better and better and better, because we're learning and repeating and going through it that way.
Yeah. Okay. So my second question is almost the same. Yeah. But in your case, you went from reach stacker operation on the rail to fully automated. So that changed maybe even more for the operators. So is it really the case that do you have new job profiles or could you manage to train the people to really handle the new tasks? Because I think it's even more.
From Patrick's perspective, like the rest of the world, labour shortages are a problem at the moment. So we were able to deploy all of the people that were in that rail operation. We retrained a large percentage of them into the automation and exception handling process, and the rest of the general population were redeployed within the terminal doing other tasks. So,
okay.
But we were able to teach some old dogs new tricks with the automated and the assistance of those cranes with the help desk rather than driving a machine.
It's a different task. Okay, are there so far any questions from the audience? Yes, you have one.
Thanks. Hello, my name is René Eisenberg from HHLA in Hamburg, Germany, and I have a question to the guys from Patrick, because I suppose there are some manual processes involved in preparing the automated operations, and I would like to ask how you do those. For example, in Germany we have to set pins on the rail wagons so they fit the 20s and 40s, for example. I don't know if you have that. And maybe there's a pre-trip inspection of any kind. So do you have those manual processes, and how do you, where and how do you do them?
So rail operations in Australia are very similar to rail operations in the rest of the world, except we're only one high. Pins in the wagons are a problem, rail inspections are an issue. So the way we've managed the pins is that with data sharing and the data sharing between us and the intermodal terminals, as we look at the file of the train that's coming in, we see that mix of cargo. We then look in our yard, see what cargo would match that going back, and then we like for like as far as possible. Now, that's not always the case. So we run through that operation that you saw until we have as much work as we can do. Then we shut it down, we open the gates, the people go in and repin the train, and then go out, we close the gates, we turn the automation back on, and that sets then forward the process to complete the train. With the train inspection piece, what we've done is we've got two separate areas. So what we're expecting is that some trains require a higher level of inspection, so we're putting them at the back of the automated operation in a separate fenced-off area within the legs of the gantry. So we can put people in that area to do those inspections whilst we're automatically operating the train beside it, or the way it's set up is there's two sidings under the automated side and two sidings under the more manualised side to do that. There is disruption to our operation through people going in, but we made a conscious decision not to try and track people in the area. It was too complicated and it brought other issues with the development of the rail that we just wanted to avoid. So we put a fence around it and we turn it on.
Okay, so let me ask one question. Matthew, you're representing Raphael, and I enjoyed his presentation on automated decision making, I would call it. In the end, though, there was somehow of a gap. Can you explain that?
Obviously, that's a technical gap. The full video I can certainly make available to anyone who's interested to see that middle section around low-hanging fruit where Raphael presents a decision-making process to identify low-hanging fruit that are then subsequently easily optimizable. From our perspective, obviously, where we're looking at automated decision-making, which is the automated process, that's the lower cost, quicker to deploy element of automation. And from the rail side, obviously, there are a number of areas that Raphael touched on, from train planning and stowage, doing things like what Patrick has outlined, minimizing pin configuration changes in those automated processes, through to scheduling and real-time optimization of rail crane moves. So very happy to discuss that at any point.
Yes, I liked very much the analogy with the support for the referees, like deciding whether there's a goal or not. But when I think about, so I was thinking about my discussions with operational people, and they all say, it's much more complicated. Now, maybe the analogy is more not with just one decision, but more with having a automated referee, like leading a whole match. Yeah? And what do you think, where are we in automation? Taking this analogy, I mean, automation is not just like with is it a goal, yes, no, place it here, place it there decisions, but it's more, you need to have it integrate. You more or less need an automated referee.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, if we look back to when Inform started working in automated decision-making, something like 27 years ago, that would have been the early 1990s, and the ability to process decision-making was dependent on both the computer hardware and the capacity of the algorithms. And a planning decision that in 1990 would have taken us 110 years to solve using computer technology that was cutting edge for the time now takes us a second. So in terms of what we're capable of doing, we're actually able to take real-time decisions for amazingly complex problems today, and we can do multiple decisions concurrently. So if a train arrives at a terminal and we need to find a storage location for a container, an optimized storage location in the yard, you might have 100, 200, in the North American context, sometimes 300-400 containers arriving in a double-stack train, and that decision is taken in seconds. So coming back to the sport analogy, it's not one decision at a time. It's multiple concurrent decisions happening in what we consider more or less real time. Yeah. And that's an amazingly powerful tool when you compare that to a human mind planning locations for a couple hundred containers. There's a very significant difference in processing capability and process adherence.
So you would say it's already more the referee than just taking just one decision, whether it's a goal or not.
Certainly.
Continuous, and it's, complex.
The only thing that I would add to that is that, if you look at algorithmic decision-making, it's not about necessarily rule adherence. So if we look at optimization, there's typically two broad categories: business rule logic and algorithmic-based decision making. When you configure our optimizers to work, you're actually configuring parameters. You're not setting necessarily strict business rules. Of course you can, so a block is closed for maintenance, but typically you're creating weighted business rules. So where you have 200 containers to unload from a train, you're looking at priorities, and then it's working through, and it's finding a very good to optimal decision for all of those containers that will maximize your optimization goals. So yes.
I'd like just to add to that in Patrick's case, we have between 8 and 14,000 containers in the yard. We've got 50 or 60 machines running around the yard, and we calculate that algorithm to optimise the most economic value across the terminal for those 60 machines, including the pathing of those. And we make that calculation every 3 seconds and then update the actions of the machinery based on the last 3-second calculation.
Thanks. Are there more questions from the audience? Yes.
Thanks. It's Anthony Acken from Siemens Australia. This is a question for Peter and Lucas. In your presentation, you talked about the importance of the interfaces. So interfaces between your RTCS to the ARMGs, ARMGs to the TOS, and then information inputs from intermodal players and information coming from the trains. Can you give us some insight to how that was actually tested in practice? Like, I imagine there would have been some type of, you would have had to have some idea before the go live about how those systems were going to interact, and I'd like to understand a little bit how that might have been achieved.
I'd like to tell you we closed our eyes and hoped for the best, but that's not quite what happened. We were operating the terminal, so the RTCS messaging to the ARMGs was a process that we ran through in the commissioning and testing phase. The data from the trains and what we call the data file from the trains was already coming in, but it was manual, so then we had to overlay that. We have a Camco gate system that checks the train on the way in, so we had to do another set of testing around that. So basically we ran our existing systems in a manualised way through the development of the automation. And I said it a few times that we had the end goal in mind, but we took the low-hanging fruit, did the things that we could do, and then stepped through the other changes as we went through it. Importantly, that helped our people along the journey as well, because they were seeing their manual, difficult tasks, standing in the rain, checking container numbers, be transferred to a machine undertaking that same task, and then an error correction process at the back of it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm Stefan from Blug. I have a question as well to you, Peter and Lucas, about the overall system integration. So the terminal operating system, in a way, taking the overall logistics decision. So I understood from your presentation that you have equipment control systems and pathing. They are probably responsible for the execution of the jobs for the autostrats. And how do you deal with the overall optimization, what you just mentioned, and using the pre-planned information about pinning information and overall logistics? Is it an in-house system or?
Yes, so it is an in-house system. RTCS has been probably for the overall Autostrad product is the large portion of the effort to develop that goes into deciding what containers or what machines, where they're going, which machines are going to pick them up, and all this kind of thing. So we interface with N4, but we have our own software which handles all of the decision making in operation.
So the N4 is the TOS, the software stack. RTCS sits in the middle. It determines the optimum start and finish point. It then sends that message to the equipment with the pathing, and then the equipment's autonomous from there. It takes it to the next to its role and feeds back when it's done the job to recycle the next element.
Okay, yes.
Just really quick. I think it's for both Christopher and Peter and Lucas. You have also automated your checking processes at the rail station, so nobody's doing manual checks. Can you check everything you wanted, or is there something you needed to do something else? For example, seals. Can you check seals? Can you check the damage placards? Not the damage placards, the hazard placards. How about damage detection? Is that possible?
So yeah, we use the Camco gating system specifically developed for our rail operations. It checks the wagons, the boxes, the door direction, the seals, hazardous cargo. Doesn't check the seals. What it does not do is check the train. So we still have the manual process for the train once it's been loaded, just to make sure there's been no wagon lift and it's all connected and the containers are landed properly.
Thank you. And do you have the OCR on the cranes, on the rail cranes, or at a train portal?
On a train portal. The train arrives and departs with the OCR.
Yeah, so ours are on the actual in-gate of the truck to the terminal. So just to quickly answer a similar answer, which checks hazardous placards and validates that with the TOS to say, is it a Class 8 that's been booked or a Class 2.3 or whatever. Also checks seal presence, but obviously not seal number. It just checks, is it a full container? Have we got confidence that a seal is present? So we're doing that. We don't have it on the rail at the moment, but we are integrating with an M&R system because it doesn't check the damage of the container, because we need to check inside the container, we need to check underneath the container as well. So we're integrating another system soon, which we mentioned in the slide, to look at container damage. And then similar to the guys from Patrick, we've got a team who will check the train before dispatch and inbound trains arrival, physically check them, make sure they're safe to go out or are safe when they arrive. So that manual check still takes place.
And just with the seals, at our automated terminals, there are no one in the yard. So if the seal's broken, it was broken on the ship, because there's nobody in there to do anything with it.
Very good point. Okay, I have another question, Kelsey. You said in your presentation that this project was not only, it was not one system. Tideworks was involved, but then there were others delivering the gate system and so on. My question is, how do you handle, usually you have some conflicts because then there are interfaces and then there may be responsibilities not clear. How did you manage this in this project?
I'd like to take this one. So obviously with multiple, clients and vendors integrating together, it's really a lockstep and, very manual effort to make sure you're all on the same page. A simple change to, one message or one field in a message and one system has the ability to take the whole thing down, right? So thankfully we've been able to partner with Camco and Advent, and we've got, a great team of subject matter experts. We're continually collaborating, making sure that when we're doing release planning and making enhancements, that we're all in lockstep about expectations and that we're all very clear on the technical design and the impact that it has further out in the process, right?
So it was continuous. Was it really continuous in the sense that you as a team were all on site and meet each other every day, or was it like every week?
So we're looking at about probably 2.5 years of this with an integrated approach for this, right? And unfortunately, this was during COVID. So we were all, I think, across the world pretty much. We had, team members in Belgium, all across the UK, on the east side of the United States, on the west side of the United States, in, Kharkiv, Ukraine. It's just, we're meeting multiple times a week, every week, and then an issue, should one arise, does not stop with one of the vendors. We're going to all make sure that it's vetted and collectively come to a resolution for it. So it really is like a end-to-end team effort continually.
Yeah, sounds very nice. You managed.
And it helps that we all like each other. So yeah.
Very good. Okay, one question to you, Uwe. You mentioned, if I got it right, you said that you really need the operators to tell you and to get clear about how do they want to operate to deliver a good automation solution? And my question is it really, I mean, how much are you involved in this process? Because I would guess that maybe they cannot really answer the question because it's different that they will operate in future. How are you handling this?
Yeah, thank you for this question, but the answer is quite easy. Look what these four people present, the practical approach, how it works in reality. So that's my meaning of it. That really you can be only execute a successful project when you are working together. You have the knowledge from the product side, from the manufacturer side, but you need also the input of the operators. And the answer to your question is quite easy. Of course, nobody knows at the starting point all the questions, but it's a point of partnership that you are working together in an open relationship, and this goes much more beyond. And this was the meaning of my speech. It goes much more beyond to when you are purchasing a manual equipment with tons of specifications and with a clear view which you can bring into paper. And all these things, what they are executing, I'm pretty sure that you were not able at the day one to know all the things what is important. And I like this example with the baseball. I don't know baseball at all in Europe, but with this 3D model what was inside, I got a clear understanding of it. And so modelize and describe what you want in an open and partnership way. This is the key of success for me, and that's what I want to intend. And so the answer is, you don't know all the questions on day one. It makes no sense to have a checklist where you all start with all the points, because you don't know all the questions which will arise of it.
So thank you very much for this very interesting discussion and your presentations, and have a good day.